stage. And again, my name, I'm called Damba Haruna. And for those on this call who can't see me, I am of dark medium complexion. I have gotten a little beard on my chin, and right now I am wearing a gray t-shirt with black buttons and putting on transparent anti-glare glasses. I am a person who strongly identifies the disabled community. I am both a deaf and lame. And so today's panel comprises 5 esteemed individuals who are coming from different countries. And so very honored that we have them here today. They are coming from Uganda, Dominica, Ghana, India, and Sri Lanka. And so I wanted to send greetings, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, from where you actually came. I am very glad to be able to moderate this session and have you all on this call. And so first and foremost, before going ahead to introduce our esteemed panelists, I wanted to acknowledge the presence of some of the individuals on this call. The individuals have been working behind the doors to make this session a reality. And as you might know, the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum, or the CDYF, as we commonly refer to it, is an essential part of the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, or the CDPF. So the CDPF is an umbrella organization that brings together all disabled organizations in the Commonwealth to chart a way forward for more stronger and more invigorated advocacy. And so CDYF is the youth wing under this umbrella organization that works to advance some of the mission and vision of this organization. And today on this call, I would like to recognize the presence of Mr. Richard Reisa, who is the General Secretary of the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, Mr. Wilbert Kihembo, who is also the Youth Officer, Mrs. Namanja Goleti, the Program Coordinator, the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum, and lastly, Mr. Yahya Yusuf, the CDYF Social Media Manager, and of course, our interpreters and captioners who are present on this call. Thank you very much for being here. And so just before going forward, I just want to pause for a moment and ask if Mr. Richard has anything to add before we can delve into our call today. So,
thank you very much.
Anything you want to say?
Okay, I just I'm glad there's all of you here. We last week had our AGM, and we'll be sending out the minutes of that soon. But I'd like to draw your attention to the focus of the policy motions that were passed. A general one challenging the sort of thrust led by the United States, but also other undemocratic leaders around the world against disability rights, particularly inclusion, diversity, and equality. That we took the view that we should be working with our countries to support the position that was exemplified by Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, that we need to use the middle powers, including groups of Commonwealth countries like the African Union, to form blocs against this, which are run based on the principles of equality and human rights, and that you can't do business between states without that. So we're urging our leaders to do that. The second one was that we have a big push over this year on the grassroots, and this is something that many of your youth members can get involved with, working at the grassroots, down in the local villages and areas of the cities, to develop inclusive education, to find disabled children not in school and work with them and their families to get them into school, and to talk to teachers about what needs to happen so that they can be at school. Because all of your countries have passed resolutions and signed up to the fact that all should go to school, but not all, particularly in Africa and some of South Asia, are not in school. And so this is something we can make a difference on. The second policy area was to create more employment by forming cooperatives in line with a UN policy that was passed in December. Governments are meant to be putting some money aside to fund co-ops, and cooperative working where people are paid a reasonable amount and have their reasonable accommodations met is suited much better to what we need than bottom line profit management, which basically doesn't want to take on disabled people because they cost too much. So a co-op, build in the reasonable accommodations from the beginning, pay people reasonably. Anything that's made goes back into growing the co-op, doesn't go to any particular person. And we think we should be pushing that, particularly in rural areas, and finding ways of building that. So that's another job your members can do. And the fourth one was to focus on, rather than covering up inequalities, to actually fight with equalities as a principle. And so those were our policies that we adopted. We are in the process of adopting, we have elected a new main part of our executive, but we're still waiting for the co-options, which includes 2 reps from the youth, and you'll be contacted about that. And we're also taking co-options at the moment for people. So if people are serious and wanting to think their area isn't covered, maybe contact me. My email is everywhere, so you know how to get me. But I wish you a good discussion this morning. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard, for those excellent updates. Really loved how you talked about those points that you discussed in your AGM. And as a matter of fact, perhaps you want to share your email address maybe in the group so members can follow up, especially the discussion that you did on. And so right now, I just wanted to proceed directly to introduce our esteemed panelists and setting the floor for the discussion going forward. And so our first panelist is Mrs. Jude Sango from Dominica. So Mrs. Jude, thank you very much for being on this call. Jude is the president of Dominica Association for Persons with Disability and the Caribbean representative of the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum. Another panelist is Samson Awosubemba from Ghana. So Samson, I am seeing you right there. Thank you very much again for joining us. Mr. Samson is a student pursuing a Master's of Science in Economic Policy at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the chair of the interim working group for the Ghana Network of Youth with Disabilities. Another panelist is Mr. Higen Stewart Cyprian. Mr. Higen, can you put on your camera? Mr. Higen is a board member representing the Heart of Hearing Persons at Show Abilities Uganda, which is a national OPD organization of people with disabilities and for youth in Uganda. Mr. Higany identified as a person hard of hearing. The fourth panelist is Rao from India, trying to see if Rao is present. So Mr. Rao is the president of RBMS, an organization of persons with disabilities in Ragayada, Odisha, that is in India. He also served as the Secretary of State for People Action Group Association, as well as the Secretary of the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum since 2024. Thank you very much for being here in this call. I'm looking forward to learning from your experience and wisdom. Our last panelist is Mrs. Janice Kumar from Sri Lanka. Kumar is the director of Deutsche Wiz Consultancy, a tech-driven content and research startup, and a founding director of Enable Lanka Foundation, Sri Lanka. He also served as Assistant Secretary for Sri Lanka Council for the Blind. So Mr. Lokuma identified as someone with virtual impairment. Thank you very much for being here. And so our panel is set to begin, and we shall be going one panelist over the other. I might be asking different questions, not necessarily the same question, because our aim is to clearly understand what this writing leadership is all about. And whenever we talk about inclusion, I always love to include the word for inclusion, co-ownership, or co-responsibilities, because we can't be designing something that we can't own the outcome. And so understanding what these terms truly mean and how we can put a way forward is truly what motivates me to be on this call and perhaps to let people understand also interconnectedness of these terms. And so first and foremost, I am going to be engaging with Mr. Samson Awasubemba from Ghana. I had mentioned earlier, Mr. Bemba, the chair of the interim working group of the Ghana Network of Youth with Disabilities. And so to my best understanding, Mr. Bemba is a person who have accumulated over time some kind of experience that is very necessary to steer this conversation going forward. So, Mr. Chairman, can you share a moment when you felt too included in the group or a space?
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Coordinator, Moderator. So basically, I would like to say today I'll share an unconventional experience way back in my senior high school. So I was basically a science student, and you know that science students will certainly do mathematics, physics, elective maths or advanced maths, and biology. So one particular experience was, since I'm always, aiming higher, irrespective of my disability, I decide to, advance wherever I am regards to my academic credentials. Because one of my teachers in my junior high school mentioned that, Samson, looking at your condition, you wouldn't be able to do, labor-intensive jobs. So just use your brain. You have a brain, use it, and basically you'll be able to succeed. So that motivated me to study very hard. So in SHS senior high school, we were in a chemistry class, and by God's grace, I was a good student. So I was shocked at a point in time when my tutor gave me the lab key that whenever he doesn't come, I should lead a team to go to the laboratory and actually with the support of the laboratory technician, manage the class and all. And I was asking myself, as a person with disability, The funny thing was, always since I had a mindset that I will excel, I always worked towards that. And in that instance, I never felt myself as a person with disability, even in a chemical laboratory where certainly, I mean, in quotes, due to our disability, there'll be maybe some risk and no, but due to how I was able to manage myself, that trust was given. So based on that, I always say that irrespective of wherever we find ourselves, we should find, what we can do and do it best so that people will see the abilities in us and not the disabilities. Because when people see the disabilities first, it's always more or less like, we might be giving excuses and all, but that shouldn't be the notion that should be out there. And that led me to doing my degree. That's my primary degree in petroleum engineering. That's also a very sophisticated area, but at least I was able to get there. But nowadays, I'm looking at economic policy since I think that gave me a very good edge where I'll be looking at specializing in extractives, which include oil and gas, as well as the green transition, the minerals, and also specifically looking at disability inclusion, the disability exclusionary course for Ghana, structurally and empirically. Yeah, so that has been, how I find myself and how it's been able to help me propagate through my life till now. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. That is a very brilliant experience. You truly take us through all of this life experience, and I think you are still connected with mine. You know, when I was in high school, no one could breathe in me. You're like, Haruna, you can't do medicine, you can't be a doctor. The same issue you are talking about. And so you have managed to show everyone that you have the will, you have the capability, you have the tenacity to be a great leader. And you have championed all of that during Victorian engineering. You know, some of those courses that people say they say about the folks can't do them. The code are very hard, may be very complicated, but you have shown them exactly that it is possible. So that is really a great takeaway. And so just wanted to probe that further. You know, when you mention about your teacher, you know, being kind of, like not very, I'm going to really say that not really very willing in your ability to perform some of those tasks, but you try to really push really hard. And so here comes the question like, so Mr. Awesome, what exactly made you feel like you can do those things? You can have your voice, and that your voice can truly matter in such a group or a setting.
Yeah, come back again on that question. Hello? Yeah, please, can you repeat the question again?
Okay, well, I was trying to literally probe on that instance that you received from the people, you know, from the public, that you can't do certain things. Maybe they thought you can't do petroleum engineering course or whatever, but you managed to go ahead and do those things. And so I am trying to ask, what made you feel you can do those things? What made you truly feel that your voice can truly matter and that you have that ability to continue pursuing those things amidst all the doubt you know that you received from the public?
Yeah, thank you. So as I said once again, that's little small voice from years back that my teacher told me that, even with, my physical stature, I can still use the brain to do what, achieve whatever I can achieve. That's been a source of motivating factor. And in wherever I find myself, since I try to do my best and excel, certainly people find, my voice necessary and decide to listen to me wherever I am. So let me cite an example. So basically during some of my lectures back during petroleum engineering, I've never been to the field like the oil rig before. But when we share experiences, sometimes lecturers share practical experiences and ask practical questions. And if you have not been there, you cannot answer some of those. But due to the mindset and also my imaginative capacity, I answered those questions. And I remember one time the professor was like, those so-called answers of yours. Then at a point in time, when we were down in the class, he came by and said, I mean, what I said was right, and that was exactly what he said. But I mean, I shouldn't take it offensive. And what happened was during Ghana, we have something called national service. During the national service, when we were about having it, he called me together with another lady that there is an opportunity that he wants us to have. Out of a class of 114, I was chosen. So I think sometimes those small little voices of encouragement that we hear go a long way to help us, I mean, in defining who we become in our society. So I always say that we should surround ourselves with people that have those strong, assertive voices that can help propel our growth. And I mean, this network is a great platform for that. That's one thing I always say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. House. And so the key takeaway from your message is keep surrounding yourself with people who can really motivate you. You know, people who can get you up when you are down. That is a very good thing, you know, to really get us moving. I would be coming back to you, but for now, I wanted to go to the guest panelist, who is Mr. Stuart Higenyi from Uganda. And Mr. Stuart is the board member representing hard-of-hearing people at Show Abilities Uganda, which is a national OPD representing youth disabilities. That is a very big position. So congratulations, Mr. Stuart, on that post. And now I am getting you a question here. I see you in the boardroom representing hard-of-hearing people, which is a very great thing. But do you really think being present in such a space is enough to say what is being included? And if yes, why? Got that question?
Thank you very much, Aruna. I've got your question clearly. I'm very glad to be part of this panel to talk about youth leadership for youth with disabilities, because this is something very personal to me, since I've been trying my level best to see how I can fit myself into spaces where youth with disabilities are pushed aside or ignored or left behind. And just like you said, I'm on the board for Show Abilities Uganda, and it is a big milestone for me to be in the room. That is undoubtable. We all have to agree as youth with disabilities. We have been trying our level best in ourselves in the room. The question is it enough to just be in the room without having influence? According to me, it is not enough for me to just be present in the room without having influence. And that is the biggest problem we have in our modern time. Youth with disabilities are given a room. They allow you to enter the room, but do you have influence? You may be in a space without having the ability to influence whatever is being said. Is something that I don't actually support, because yes, you've given me a platform to talk, but what next after talking? what happens next when the microphone is removed from me? Is the conversation going to stop there? Or am I going to see an impact of what we have been talking about? So personally, it's not enough to be in a room where opportunities are. We need to see that we are given the authority to influence whatever is being said in these rooms. That is the true test of inclusion for youth with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that. I do entirely agree with you on that point, that this is exactly the first step for us to really be able to influence things. But also when you say there is a chance, there is a possibility that being in such a space may not be having the ability to influence things. That is very true. Like, in most cases, you can get the mic, but you can't afford to actually influence people's opinion, because we are in this kind of system where we have to conform to such outdated hierarchical systems that are very rigid. They can't be able to change the rigidity. Most of the people come on the table, they are already made up opinion, and they have that kind of, if this is not, then there is no one else. If this is not the answer, then no answer at all. And so we have those kind of assumptions, right? And this gets me to the second question that I wanted to ask you, especially when you mentioned that being in such a space can sometimes come as a co-option, not the ability to influence things. And so the question here is, do we have any difference here? We can talk about like being invited to and being listened to. I'm trying to get this, like, in your experience as someone with a disability, when you get invited to attend those meetings, does this always automatically translate into being listened to? Do you get the question?
Thank you very much, Aruna, once again. And I once again acknowledge that it is very important for youth with disabilities to be invited in spaces. That's a milestone we can't deny, because the previous times used to suffocate in spaces where we are not given a chance to talk on the platforms or even being called for a meeting. But now comes the time where we are being invited to these platforms, meetings, and other engagements. But that is just a first step. I don't think it necessarily means that you're going to be listened to if I invite you in the room. After inviting you in the room, are you given a chance to speak? Because according to me, presence doesn't mean that you have the power to influence the decisions that are going to be made in the room. So on top of being present in the room, you must be able to participate. And what next after participating? Are you really going to be given the authority to influence what you're participating in? So being invited in the room is just the start of a huge milestone. but being listened to is much better. But when someone invites you into a room, it does not necessarily mean that they're going to listen to you. And that's how I bring in the tokenistic side of most of the activities that we are having today. Youth with disabilities are invited to attend meetings as a symbol. You come in the meeting, you put up your hand, you give an opinion, people clap for you. What next? Have you been listened to? We just invited you, you signed your name, we publish articles showing that we are involving youth with disabilities, but are we really listening to them? If you invite me into a room and I say, I want to see that on this board, the youth with disability. When we come to talk about economic policies, there is a youth with disability. And people are going to clap for me, but have I been listened to? That's the most important thing that most of us ignore. When you're invited into a meeting, when you're invited into the room, it's not just enough for you to be present. You have to influence whatever is being said in that room.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for putting all of that together. You are making a very brilliant connection to what Mr. Richard said earlier in his forward. And I think really what makes us going to achieve what we are discussing in those group is to really be more and more thoughtful about what comes after when we speak. Like if we do speak, and then we're gonna sit back, we're not going to be able to achieve much of what we are trying to advocate for. I see Mr. Richard, his hand is up, so definitely I'm gonna channel this just to you. Do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to add, absolutely right. It's how you influence things. But in our experience, we aren't individuals. We are collective organizations. So if whichever organization you're from, you have a discussion with your other members of that youth organization, what is it you want to achieve in the meeting? What's the agenda of the meeting? What are the proposals that are being put forward? What are your amendments that you want to make, policy amendments to that? So come armed with a motion or a suggestion, which you put very clearly, ideally in writing, that you pass around all the people in the room beforehand, and the main reasons why they should support this. In the coffee break or before the meeting, try and get allies in the room, say, this is what we're trying to get. Will you support it? Particularly if it's a meeting with representatives from government, lobby different people in the room for what you're trying to achieve before you just go and speak. It's how you organize that's important to whether you will achieve your objective. Now, the slogan, we used to say nothing about us without us. Now we just say nothing without us. In other words, we should be at every meeting because whatever they're discussing will impact on disabled youth, whatever it is. And so that's a reason to say we need to be at every meeting. And that means we need to be organized with a secretariat who actually produces the material we want in writing, so that you are a representative of that organization. You are not just there on your own. Very important. So you say, I speak for all these disabled youth in our country. We represent this portion of the country. So when I'm speaking, I'm not just speaking as myself, I'm speaking on their behalf, which means you have to have democratic structures which agree the policies that you're going to take forward, not just what I happen to like, that I want every disabled person to have free internet so that I can watch my favorite program, but for disabled people to have access to internet because it actually extends the area that they can actually operate in is a good policy thing. And so, just as an example, so I think the preparation is absolutely essential. And that means being very clear about what your objectives are before you go into a room, rather than just going in and saying, well, I think this and maybe that. Be much clearer. Those would be my advice based on what we're trying to do. We are collective organizations. We are groups of disabled people. As individuals, you can succeed. You can get the eye of the minister or the president, and they'll appoint you as their special advisor, and you'll get a good salary for it. But beware, if you do it on your own, you are easily corrupted. Whereas if you represent a whole group, you will not. We are not interested in individual careerists. We are interested in the collective action of the youth movement. That is what we're about here. So you need to be representative, is what I would say. What do you think about that, Stuart? Do you agree, Stuart?
So the key takeaway here is try to be organized and have that mindset of representing for not individual careerists. Those are very great to add. So I am seeing one hand up, for instance, they want to say something in less than 2 minutes, so we can proceed to the next panelist.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm calling in from Nigeria, and my name is Constance. So I actually agree with what Richard just said. However, I would like to throw more light into the dynamism of disability as it relates to different countries. So using Nigeria as a case study, Nigeria recently just passed a law on disability in 2018. And the fight for disability inclusion started so many years back before 2018, I think 25 years ago. And it was really a problem in the sense that the Nigerian constitution do not even capture persons with disabilities in it. So I can actually understand where Stuart is coming from when he says that different organizations invite youth with disabilities. However, they do not listen. So what a lot of organizations do right now, because of the funding space where you look out for donors to fund certain projects, funders now concentrate on the issues of persons with disabilities. And you see a lot of organizations that are not disability focused or disability centered, trying to say in their concept note that they will always include persons with disabilities, which is never the case. So what we have been practiced here in Nigeria is more of accessibility, but not inclusion. So when these programs are fine-tuned into activities, persons with disabilities are invited, yes, that is access. But in the course of the program, persons with disabilities are not listened to. I know that this is easier for other countries that have factored disability right from the get-go. But for us in West Africa, Nigeria specifically, it's quite difficult because we've been pushing for disability inclusion and still pushing for it. So even when we come out as an organization as an association. We have a lot of associations, so it's more, it's not individualistic now. It's more of a representative who attends a program and speaks on behalf of others. You find out that even when that is done, our voices are not listened to. For example, there are a lot of policies in Nigeria that do not understand or include the issues of persons with disabilities. Take, for example, the National Action Plan on Peace and Security for Youth in Nigeria. It does not incorporate persons with disabilities in it. The issues of women, peace and security does not incorporate women with disabilities in it. We are actually still fighting for women representation in government. Allocated seats should be given to women. This is just women, including women with disabilities. We don't have that yet. So I think that in forums like this, we should also be able to tell our stories as it relates to the dynamics of each country, so that we can also learn from countries that have been able to achieve a greater success, whereby other countries that are still struggling, like Nigeria, can leverage on our relationship with other countries to be able to push for disability inclusion in our country, because that is still very much lacking. There's accessibility to an extent, but there's no inclusion for persons with disabilities in Nigeria yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of those important points and trying to let us know the situation in Nigeria. That's very well said, and I think truly this speaks to the theme we are trying to explain: the writing, the leadership, disabled youth taking the center stage. And we really just love to hear from all what you have to say, but we have that dedicated space that time when you are gonna weigh into all of these kind of issues. But just wanted to finish up with our panelists trying to gauge their experience, and then we're gonna open up the floor to all members to weigh in. And so appreciate your patience and your willingness to continue to participate in this manner. And now I am going to go to Mr. Rao, who is the president of RBMS and also the secretary of the state for People's Action Government Association in Odisha. And I think the most issue that is under contention now is, do you really think when we get a mic, are we being listened to? I don't truly think that we are always being listened to. Because even Constance mentioned that many organizations are using us as a option, maybe trying to just layer different groups, saying that we have this and this person disability on our team. Well, our own voice, our own issues, suggestions are not being respected. And so just want to quickly go to Mr. Rao. Is Mr. Rao around?
Yeah, he's on the call, I think.
Okay,
Yes, Rao.
that's very good.
Yeah,
So,
I am here.
Mr. Rao, as the president, I know he has accumulated a lot of experience within that role, being the president and the secretary of the People's Action Government. And I just wanted to really learn from his rich experience, because it is such a very big position, the kind of support that can help disabled folks speak up and take up these leadership roles. So,
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Rao, the floor is yours to highlight us about the support structure that can help us to speak up and take on the leadership roles.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone.
This is Shishir Raul. Thank you, Dr. Richard, for this organized for this webinar. Actually, as a young person with disability in this development sector, my leadership journey began in the year of 2017 at the aspirational district of Odisha state in India. Here we are facing lots of barrier for person with disability to accessing the rights of education, healthcare facilities, and livelihood. So today I am honored to hold a responsibility at the global level. The journey from the grassroots level to global level is set by the presence and lived experience. And this journey is possible with the help of my members, my communities. So, and my view of understanding, my leadership is not defined by a position, but by a purpose. Holding a responsible role is not just a title, it is a duty towards my communities. It is a platform to simplify the unheld voice and the challenges systematic barrier that continue to exclude person with disability. My vision is to contribute towards building a inclusive, equitable, and accessible and dignityful society for all person with disability, where the youth with disability, the person with disability live his life with full of dignity. We need the support to make an inclusive society in worldwide that empower me to speak of and lead come from the inclusive system and accessible environment and strong global network that believe in this principle of nothing about us and without us. Through the mainstream of a collective advocacy and rights-based framework, each of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability and the Sustainable Development Goals, I have gained that conditional in influence policy and drive a meaningful and sustainable change. My dear friends, disability is not our weakness. In terms of my view of understanding, it is our strength. It is gives us a deeper understanding of inequality and strengthen our determination to build a world where dignity, accessibility, and equal opportunity are reality for all. I call of all of you to support the development of second line leadership, global networking, national level networking with the other organization, youth lead organization, to view together work together. We meet to ensure true participation and uphold principle of nothing about us and without us. Well, also coming to the global promises to level of leave no one behind. We already have a powerful weapon like United Nations, the Convention of Persons with Disability, and the Sustainable Development Goal. And it's a time to use the weapon to achieve our destination, to make an inclusive global society. In this platform, I would like to request you all, those who are present here, in 3 points, 3 to 4 points. First of all, know your rights. Raise your voice in a manner way, in a convergence way with the local government and the national government in the global level. Work collaboratively and engage with the local government to ensure your rights. Let us ensure to access and education, healthcare facilities, and livelihood opportunity for all. Let's build a inclusive society where young person with disability can live with dignity with his family to enjoy the rights and entitlement and non-dependable and full of employment of their rights and emphasis. In this phase, I would like to take off your support as a secretary of Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum. I would like to request you. I just need your support to build a networking and contribute your duty, contribute your time, contribute your innovation, your knowledge to this wonderful and global mission to disability inclusion, global society in Commonwealth countries, all over the Commonwealth countries. I would like to request you all, please make the second line leadership and join with us to make this global inclusion world, the dream of global inclusion world into true. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raul. And so a quick one here. What risk are we willing to take to ensure true inclusion, even when it challenges existing systems and comfort zones?
Actually, in terms of my view of understanding, the true inclusion demands cross to challenge the system and to take the risk and challenge the system and comfort zone. As a youth with disability, we are willing to raise our voice, questions, discriminations, and demands accountability, even when it creates reluctance, guided by that UN Convention of the Rights of Person with Disability and Sustainable Development Goal. We are advocate for equal rights, accessibility, and dignity at the all level, all Commonwealth level. We are facing lots of problem because we have a different type of nation, different nation having the different type of law. The UNCRPD are not directly implement in a grassroots level. That's why we are facing to access the disability rights in everywhere is not in a similar way. In a global context, our role is move beyond, take hand and ensure the meaningful participation in decision making. We risk being challenged and ignored, but we continue to lead the collaborate and environment to inclusive development. As a young person with disability, our mission is clear. Our mission is to transfer barrier into opportunity. We have lots of barrier. We are facing barrier to accessing education facilities. We are facing barrier to access healthcare facilities. We are facing barrier to make sure the equal opportunity. But now we don't want that equal opportunity. We want the opportunity in equity. We need the reasonable accommodation. We not need the accommodation. We need the reasonable accommodation. And that will be possible with our collective work towards this goal. We are facing lots of problems from these existing systems. The system is not existing to properly implement the UNCRPD at grassroots level. In terms of India, I would like to share with you something. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability is 2006 that was signed by the Indian government in the year of 2007. In that time, the Indian government implementing to provide the facilities for persons with disability according to the Person with Disability Act 1995. After signed by that UNCRPD, the government of India taking nearly about 9 years of time from 2007 to 2016. In the year of 2016, the Indian government modified to the UNCRPD, the Indian government of India approves the Rights of Person with Disability Act 2016. And here in India, UNCRPD is directly not to work for person with disability. Rights of person with disability is where provide facilities for person with disability to ensure the disability rights. Similarly, many nations was modified by the UNCRPD to convince the rights of person with disability, the disability rights, and that will be create barrier for us to make an inclusive and equitable society for all. So, our vision is clear. Our dream is clear. Our destination is only one. We want to make this global society for inclusion, for inclusive, and for equitable for person with disability. Young people with disability, where the person with disability live his life with full of family, with full of participation, with full of dignity. So it is the last in my voice. I would like to request you all, please contribute your time and give your extending helping hands, networking with the local civil society, disability network, youth lead network to implement the disability action plan of Commonwealth Disabled People Forum, the disability inclusion mission of Commonwealth Disability Youth Forum, and implement that too in your local area. Then the dream will be true in future. And we have the weapons, but we want to use that in a proper way. We have a weapon of sustainable development goal and United Nations, the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability. But now is the time to use the weapon in a proper way. So, thank you, Richard, for organizing this. And our leadership seminar is the last and end of this seminar. So thank you all and for this.
About 30 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
to close our call. And so, in the interest of time, I would like the remaining panelists to really be very brief, be warm, and succinct. And so, thank you very much, Raul, for those take-home lessons, especially the four lessons you said. Know your right, know your voice, engage collaboratively, engage local governments, very smart. And now going on to Mr. Jude Casango, who is coming from Dominica. So, Mrs. Jude is the president of the Dominican Association of Persons with Disabilities and the Caribbean representative of the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum. Thank you very much, Madam President, actually making the time to be on this call. And so we care to cause your interest and experience in this area. And just wanted to all participants unite to our theme, which is writing leadership, disabled youth leader taking the center stage. And so, Madam President, many panelists have shared very interesting insights on this topic, and so wanted to ask, what does the shared power actually look like in practice? What makes it feel that way?
A pleasant good morning from the Caribbean to each and every one of you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel this morning. And Mr. Damba, thank you very much for your question. Shared power in practice goes beyond and far beyond simply being invited into a room. It means that persons with disabilities are meaningfully included at every stage of decision making, from planning to implementation to evaluation. It looks like us holding leadership roles, not just in disability forums like this, but in every part of our society. It looks like influencing agendas and shaping outcomes rather than just responding to outcomes of decisions that are taken by others who don't have the lived experiences that we have. Shared power is evident when our voices are not filtered, tokenized, or overlooked, but are respected as equal contributions. What makes it feel real is when our input is tangible in the change that is brought about by our inputs. When policies reflect our lived realities, when systems begin to shift because of our advocacy, and when we are trusted as experts because of our own lived experiences. It also feels real when there is accountability, when those in authority are willing to share control, challenge existing norms, and create space for equity. Shared power is not symbolic, it is transformative, and it requires intentional effort to dismantle long-standing barriers that have historically excluded us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much also for being very brave. And I think the key takeaway here is that shared power is not symbolic, it is transformative. And so we need to challenge existing norms, dismantle existing barriers. I am going to go back to that question we asked Chiro and see if you might have more insight about it. I am going to ask what are we willing to take to ensure that true inclusion even when it challenges existing norms and comfort zones. And maybe with that question, I tried to kind of look at your opinion and to see if your opinion could actually influence the decisions. But in doing so, what are those risks that you are willing to take to ensure that your issues, your decisions are being heard? You are going to be confronting the system, challenging those comfort zones, and so what are this kind of risk that we need to look into and get us prepared as we work on this journey.
Mr. Damba, I could not hear you for a moment because somebody's mic is unmuted. Can you repeat your question, please?
I think there is someone who isn't much. So I'm going to ask Richard if he can mute that person. So Richard, can you mute this person?
I have just muted them.
Dumba, please
Okay.
confirm all
So
to
the
mute your
question
mute
here
all mic
is,
I have
we have
muted.
to
because someone mic is on mute,
word.
so that's why
What
many problem
shared
is here.
power is, when you say it should not be symbolic, it should be transformation. And so, to my understanding, I believe that in order for you to have a voice, you are going to be confronting some of these existing systems. You are going to find yourselves in confrontation with those comfort zones that people are enjoying. And so this draws us back to that question I asked Mr. Rowe. What are some of the risks that we are willing to take to ensure true inclusion, even when it challenges existing systems and or comfort zones?
Great question, and thank you very much. I feel as an advocate that yes, we have to be willing to take risks, and one of the risks that we are to be willing to take is that of being disliked by quote unquote those in authority. As an advocate, I stand firm in the belief that those whom we serve and the issues that we are to confront as advocates, we must not confront those issues, with the hope of being liked by those in authority, because when we get too comfortable with those who are expected to bring about change, and no change is brought about, that's what they want, because society is bent on excluding persons with disabilities. So I say we must be willing to take the risk and be advocates that are serious about this whole advocacy thing. And there's nothing wrong with being liked, but we must be willing to step outside of our comfort zone, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Being willing to step outside our comfort zone and say, this is what we want, and we as persons with disabilities, we do have rights, and we must be willing to hold society accountable. Take, for example, many of our countries on this call, have signed on to and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. But how many of our countries have existing legislation that really, seeks to protect and to represent persons with disabilities. There are hardly any country who fully, does that. And so we must be willing to hold society accountable and say, this is what you signed into, and these are our expectations, and these are the measures that we are willing to take to ensure that, what you have signed into, you bring into reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those great insights. And now our last panelist is Janitha Rukmal. But before we go to Rukmal, I see Richard's hand is up. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I can say it now or later. Which do you want?
Perhaps you can say it later after
Later.
hearing
Yeah,
our
let's
last
the last
panelist.
panelist speak, and then I'll come in.
Oh, yes. So our last panelist is Lukmar, who is the director at Dortways Consultancies and the founding director of the Nepal Lanka Foundation in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Mr. Director, for being here with us today. And I guess from your rich experience as director at Dortways Consultants and in the Balaka Foundation, you have for years accumulated a level of experience that will enlighten all of us. And so, in your experience, what do you think we would need to change for people with disability to feel more confident in taking up leadership positions?
Thank you, Mr. Haruna, for that amazing question and for making me a part of this conversation. I hope all of you can hear me and see me well enough. So, my role as a director, I have seen so many challenges and changes that the realm of disability inclusion has gone through in South Asia and beyond. So, in the modern times, something I observe is more and more young people living with disabilities try to fight in silos, try to avoid the collective advocacy. Because, on the one hand, I feel most of them are frustrated by the fact that, in spite of so much of advocacy, so much of lobbying, so much of effort as collectives across the board, it has been very difficult to go beyond the typical tokenism when it comes to persons with disabilities. And because of that, they are already stuck in the marginalized pot of different populations at whom the society looks only at last as a measure of goodwill most of the time. While there have been a lot of advancements in our society in terms of making reasonable accommodations possible, and the United Nations adopting a convention made for the persons with disabilities with the involvement of persons with disabilities themselves, such as the UNCRPD, and many of our governments and countries as the Commonwealth taking the forefront to sign and ratify this convention. In spite of all that, how many countries in our Commonwealth have effectively inculcated these international instruments into local laws? Unless this country is a monist country where the international law becomes the country's law automatically, wherever that dualism prevails, the need to formulate legislation that enables these provisions of our convention has been very slow and very difficult. In that light, many young people don't feel comfortable anymore to engage with collectives. In that light, I really commend these capacity strengthening programs conducted by Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum in fashioning and shaping the young people to take the lead and become effective and powerful change makers. So to change this narrative, what I would suggest is to be able to read the room better. Although we are very well against tokenism, how many of us care to read the room when we go for different events where we are being invited? Sometimes reading a room could be something very superficial people do, because we see in many occasions that persons with disabilities try to engage with the ones who engage with them without looking for the higher hanging fruit, resorting to low hanging fruit. So based on the overall outlook that has been given to persons with disabilities, stereotyping them as marginalized, this becomes the norm. On the other hand, I believe the narrative needs to change in terms of young leaders with disabilities being go-getters and trendsetters. When I say go-getters, one might ask me, with all the challenges that we have as persons living with disabilities, how can we become go-getters? Because some reasonable accommodation adjustments need to be there for us to achieve pretty much everything that everyone else has achieved. But the way I see it, in my life at least, I wasn't subscribed to the typical taglines like nothing about us without us or nothing without us. Instead, I thought of them as double negatives. Instead, what if we rephrase this narrative to say, do everything with us, do everything with me? That is similar to the way a singer in a concert would invite the audience to sing with me. Then you become the leading figure and you trailblaze so that the others around you get to follow you and do the right thing. In that sense, I was able to make a journey of my own by, first of all, working in the election sector where we look at the political rights and representations of persons with disabilities alongside looking at the election violence perpetrated in Sri Lanka in my first role as a professional. And through that, I got the access to mainstream civil society space. And there I realized one thing we need to change is persons with disabilities should not be relegated to lead within their space. Instead, they need to be taken out. Just like the slogan "Nothing Without Us" says, we need to take them out of those disability realms and place them in positions where they could influence mainstream decisions. So in Sri Lanka, that has been accomplished, where a member of parliament living with a disability has been introduced through the national list, not only to look into the issues of persons with disabilities, but also to work with the rest of the parliamentarians to solve the national issues. And in that sense, we have something as an example to show everyone. And instead of trying to be very vocal and very aggressive in promoting our agendas, what if we would adopt strategies like silent diplomacy? Because silence is not being invisible. It is not equal to being invisible. Instead, the silence itself carries a powerful message that can amplify the issues we face, and on the other hand, draw the attention of those who need to see these issues, especially just in a context that was described by Dr. Richard earlier, where the disability inclusion is being sidelined. Silent diplomacy will have a lot of role to play and change the narrative for the empowerment of everyone, I believe. So starting from there, if we can be strategic, visionary, and without sticking to the low-hanging fruit, if we try to go for the lofty goals while sticking beyond the typical disability space, I think we can overcome a lot of challenges, place ourselves in right positions, and educating ourselves to be advocates not just for us, but for everyone, regardless whether they have a disability or not, is going to be our way out of this marginalization. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for those very brilliant remarks. Now, Mr. Richard, do you want to go next?
Yeah, okay, thanks. I could see the point of that because Sri Lanka has got stuck. I mean, there's been legislation waiting to go through for 12 years, I think. So maybe this person in the parliament may be able to build a coalition that actually supports that. But I still don't think necessarily that just working from the inside will do it. I think you have to, at the same time, have to have a campaign going in the society, and we need the young people to do that. And we were pleased that a young people's group has just joined this network from Sri Lanka. So I think you need both. You need people such as Dr. Rukmal, and you also need people to raise the temperature, to be in the press, the media, and making politicians feel awkward. They should feel awkward in Sri Lanka. They've completely denied disabled people's rights for a very long time now and had instead their own little feuds, which don't really change anything for most people in the country. So I think, you know, they have to be held to account, politicians, and they are wanting in that country as they are in many other countries. So I don't quite agree with the position being put there, although I see the value of expertise being there. What we are doing, and the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum, is we have just been pressuring the Commonwealth, who have never taken disability seriously, to agree to a disability inclusion action plan. That is being agreed this week by the country group, which represents 17 countries. And on that, it's not everything we wanted. For instance, we don't have a meeting of ministers who are responsible for disability, which I think is shocking. And there's no built-in standing committee. Instead, we will, as and when we want it, convene meetings of representative organizations across the Commonwealth. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. So, but we do have things that are in the UNCRPD, that this is a voluntary agreement amongst the state parties, which will be agreed in Antigua. And I would urge people to get themselves to Antigua. You particularly, Judy, I'd like to see you there and speaking at, we're hoping on the 5th of November, which is the day after Chogamens, to hold a day's symposium on what does this Disability Inclusion Action Plan mean now as we go forward. And we want to share good practice and thinking from across the Commonwealth. And I also want to focus there on Barbados, where by having people inside the ministry, so that's the model that's just being talked about, they have succeeded in getting legislation on the statute book with the new constitution in Barbados, which is now a republic. And so that gave them the opportunity, not leaving the Commonwealth, just changing their status to who was the head of the Commonwealth of their country. So wherever there's an opportunity, we need to take it. But I would urge people to start thinking, particularly with like a youth voice in Antigua, to get themselves onto the government delegations that are going to there, to see if you can get representation there, get them to pay the fees and the money so that there's more of a voice. And of course, there's the Youth Forum, the Women's Forum, and the People's Forum happening, as well as a business forum for people to get engaged with. So that's coming up. We will be writing to everybody about that, but I think it will give us a step change in the Commonwealth of how we are trying to do that. And I thank particularly, I see Ambassador Nasha from the African Union is on. Thank you for your help in getting that noted by many countries. One thing I noticed yesterday If you go on the UNCRPD committee, and they do a report, they did a report in August, and there's an appendix 2 there of countries who since ratifying have never made an initial report. You're meant to do it within 2 years. And these are the ones that they've held up 5 years at least, have not submitted a report. And the majority of those are Commonwealth countries. So we say we pride ourselves on the rule of law, and the Latimer House Agreement and these various agreements, and yet many of our countries haven't even done the basic first step of doing, if you like, a survey across all of their country. Where are we in relation to the demands of the UNCRPD? So that's where you've got to start. So I will be publishing that in the next newsletter, so you can start a campaign in each of those countries to make sure that they do actually get an initial report together, and then form a coalition of DPOs and others who are interested, civil society, to make your own shadow report at the same time. So, and the people on the committee in Geneva are very happy to accept DPOs to come and give their views against the government, because the government often doesn't tell the truth about what's going on. So, yes, it's all happening and nothing is happening. So we need the DPOs to be there. So these are some really important things that people can get engaged with that do lead to real change, because they force governments, using the shame of international opprobrium, that they are not doing what they're meant to do. And this in the 20th year since that UNCRPD came into force, or to be signed, it came into force 2 years later, but is something we should all be doing. So there are plenty of things to get out there and campaign on. But my last point is do it collectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We now have like 10 minutes remaining, so gonna give 5 minutes to each of the people whose hands are up to raise their queries. I'm going to begin with Ambassador Nyasha. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity, Aruna. I don't have many words to say because everything has been said. We had great speakers, and I just want to thank Richard and team for organizing such a wonderful meeting, and it was actually a meaningful meeting. But I just want to emphasize and add on what Richard just said, or let me say, I just want to remind people who are attending this meeting on what Richard just said. The importance of working together, the importance of finding partners or key stakeholders whenever we are trying to advocate, to lobby and advocate for inclusion, be it in decision-making processes at community level, at national level, at all platforms. I think it's very important because on the road to success, there is always we, not me. So we must work together with other groups. Let's identify partners, like what Richard just said. That let's say you attended a meeting, you enter into a room, and you want to say something in trying to lobby and advocate for disability inclusion and empowerment. You have to first seek for partners or key stakeholders who could support you, so that when you raise a certain point, they will quickly jump in and support your point. That's what I just wanted to emphasize. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those excellent points. I am now going to Korechi. Korechi, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you so much, our moderator, Haruna Damba. Thank you so much for moderating this meeting. I thank our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing those insightful messages and information to youth with disabilities in the Commonwealth countries. I appreciate our General Secretary, Mr. Richard Reza, for his support and guiding us in our leadership journey as youth, the Commonwealth Disabled Youth Forum. I just want to add on what the panelists said on leadership. As a leader for youth with disabilities, if you want to become a good leader and raise your voice on behalf of other youth with disabilities, you have to first work from the grassroots level. First, connect with other youth with disabilities in your communities, start working and coordinating, even networking with other people in your community, so having disabilities, work with stakeholders. Then also, we're all having smartphones. Most of us, we are having smartphones, and we can do our advocacy via online, like Twitter or X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, all those apps we can. But also we can improve our leadership journey. There are very many opportunities on those social media accounts for youth with disabilities, but most of us, I think, we fear to apply. But when you apply, you can learn more about leadership and how to create an inclusive society. Because these days, some organizations and some companies, they are really inclusive to people with disabilities. We are really having big space in some companies and some organizations to create change in societies. So I kindly request us, let's continue raising our voices on social media, because sometimes when you apply for any position or any leadership position or any volunteer work on social media, they first ask for link to your account or profile such that they can see the activities that you've been doing in your community. So all the activities that we do, we have to post them to show the society the change that we are creating, such that they can hear our voices as well and know what truly youth with disabilities want, the change that we want to create in our communities. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, our moderator.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those excellent points. We are past each hour agreed time for closure, so don't go into accept any more queries from the audience. And so right now, I am going to defer it to our panelists, starting with Mr. Sampson. One or two words we really want to leave with the audience in just 1 or 2 minutes only. And so I'm going to be going in that order. Mr. Sampson will go first, and then Higgins Stewart will go next. Sheila Raul go third. Judeka Sango will go. And then Janitha Kumar will finalize each panelist on only 1 or 2 minutes to sum up. Thank you very much. So, Samson, this is your chance to begin.
Yes. Thank you so much. Today has been really awesome. And I'm glad to be here once again, looking at the perspectives that colleagues have shared. So one small concrete step that I would want to say in regards to making in spaces more disability inclusive is for us to be more proactive and concerted by, gathering our energies and planning before taking action. Because when we are having a divided front, it doesn't really help. But if we are actually advancing together as one, it becomes much more effective. So here in Ghana, recently, there is even a policy regards to a funding grant from the World Bank that's come regards to upgrading like the various, let me explain it in this sense. So we have schools in grade A, senior high schools in grade A, grade B, and so on. So they are trying to move grade C to grade B, then grade B to grade A. And I realize that that is a very good opportunity for youth with disabilities, especially in our country, from our network side, to leverage on that to ensure that that $300 million grant that has been given or loan that has been given by the World Bank to the government to undertake such an activity, there would be a critical component of disability inclusion, because I realized that we have special schools that, certainly the advocacy has been there for years and they are catering for them. But when it comes to the mainstream, where some few persons with disabilities are mainstreamed, sometimes it becomes challenging. So this presents a unique opportunity for us to advocate, and we are actually working on that to ensure that since this government, our current government, is more or less more inclined to disability inclusion, we can take advantage of that and ensure that basically our voice are not only heard, but actually lead to meaningful implementation of ensuring that, our education system is much more inclusive, especially at the mainstream level. Thank you so much.
Next is the start. Stuart, do you hear me? One of your words, just less than 2 minutes.
Haruna, who did you call? Next speaker?
If Stuart is not available, I am gonna go to Raul. Raul, are you here? Okay, going to Judy.
Stuart.
All right, good morning again. In terms of final words, let me start off by thanking the organizers for such a wonderful panel discussion. It was certainly a pleasure and a privilege for me to do this. Final words, I would like to just say to all of us that leadership is something that we all can participate in our own sphere of life, and especially as persons with disabilities, there is an increased need for us to be our own voices and voices for those around us who, society continuously tries to take away our voice because we are persons with disabilities. We play a vital role in the disability movement. And wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, let us be advocates that are willing to effect change and be the voice that we also need in this ever-changing world. And to my fellow panelists, thank you for the wonderful work that you all are doing in your own country. And I salute your efforts and continue to do the good work and serve others to the best of your ability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I am very glad to close the meeting at this point. I am seeing Richard's hand is up, Constance's hand is up. Do you have anything less than a minute? Just less than a minute. Constance, are you here?
Yes, thank you very much. This session has been very insightful and educative. I would also like to point out in the area of leadership for youth with disabilities, it's not like youth with disabilities do not take up opportunities. The first barrier I see when it comes to leadership trainings are the age. Now, the age is a problem. You see a leadership training for youth with disabilities, and they tell you 18 to 35. Now, if you consider a person with disability and the rate of gaining an education with your peculiar disability, it takes time to get an education. For example, a deaf person in our schools here, we do not even have sign language interpreters. So a deaf person acquires sign language at the age of 6 and doesn't start school early. By the time the person is done with school, primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, university, you find out that the person is above the age. And when the person comes out and sees opportunities he or she can benefit from, the age automatically disqualifies that person with a disability. And that is why you find that a lot of youth with disabilities are not out there because age disqualifies them automatically, including
Sorry, this is Julia, the
employment.
captioner. I can't hear Constance. She's far too muffled.
Oh, can you hear me now?
No, not really.
Oh,
That's better.
okay. So I was saying that the age factor automatically disqualifies persons with disabilities from taking up leadership positions or even leadership trainings, because the process of getting an education is quite difficult for a person with disability compared to a person without a disability. And if you look at the policy on youth age in Nigeria, we use the African Union that says that a youth is defined as a person from age 18 to 25, which in that sense, it does not capture the reality of us as a country. Because if you put it that way, automatically it has automatically disqualified a demography, which is the other youths with disabilities. So I think that should also be looked into. Secondly, when we talk about local communities where we can carry out projects for persons, youth with disabilities in local communities, a lot of call for applications do not capture or do not even include youths with disabilities because of the age thing. You find an organization say, okay, persons with disabilities are highly encouraged to apply. And in another breath, the same organization is saying it should be a youth-led organization from 18 to 25. That automatically disqualifies a youth-led organization that is above the age range. So I think that that is something we can also advocate for, so that we have a lot of interventions targeted towards youth initiatives. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Richard, your hand is up. I
Oh, is
don't know if you still have more queries.
No, I just wanted to say that that's why we go 35.
Okay,
15
okay,
to
thank you. So
35
now
is our limit.
going to conclude this meeting. And before I do that, I just want to throw some thank yous. So thank you very much to Mr. Wilbert Kehembo, who is working tirelessly to have these meetings. Really a very brilliant man. A very great applause to you for organizing this and for inviting us to be part of this empowering sessions. Thank you very much to CDYF for the wisdom or the support that you extend to the CDYF. And so all the people who have managed to stay on this call up to this hour, our panelists for the brilliant wisdom you have shared with us. And I hope Mr. Wulubachi gonna synthesize all of this information into a comprehensive report that perhaps can be shared online that everyone can access. So thank you very much. This brings us to the end of this session.